The anime begins with a mature young man named Alan, who is heading north on a train, writing a letter to his girlfriend Lydia, telling her that he's heading north after what happened to him, his failure in the Royal Wizard exam. He remembers what happened to him a little while ago with the professor, who was disappointed because of Alan's failure in the exam and never expected this at all, and that the exam was an obstacle for him. He asked him if he had any idea what happened, but Alan didn't know anything. Regardless, he doesn't have the money to return to his family, and this is very sad for him. The professor saw that sending money to his family was very noble, but he should think about himself too. He offered him a vacant job he had. An old friend of his was looking for a teacher for his daughter until spring only, and would pay him well. He asked him what he thought if he wanted to try. Alan was surprised by this, but agreed immediately. The professor spoke with his friend and told him he found the right person, and that this boy he had told him about many times, and also told him he was the smartest he had ever taught. After he finished the call, he told Alan that his friend was very welcoming to the idea. He told him that he would teach his daughter, who is the daughter of Duke Howard from one of the 4 noble houses, and her name is Tina, and she hopes to join the Royal Academy in spring. Alan thought that being a private tutor for a duke's daughter might be difficult, and remembered that the other one was also a duke's daughter. The professor showed him the ticket, and that he had bought it, and that he would leave at noon in a first-class carriage, which greatly annoyed Alan with the professor for thinking he had tricked him, but the professor wished him good luck. Alan returned to his present still on his way north by train and finished writing the letter to Lydia. Alan reached the city and the weather was very cold, and he began exploring the location of Duke Howard's palace. A man named Graham appeared to him, who is Duke Howard's head servant, and with him was Ellie, who is also a maid in training. Ellie greeted Alan, and after they greeted each other, they went to the carriage. Graham told Alan that the carriage was small, and asked Ellie if she should sit on Alan's lap, which caused Ellie to feel very embarrassed, and Alan prevented this too. But Ellie didn't mind, and she had no problem with this, and Graham saw it that way too. They rode inside the carriage, and Alan was amazed by the ribbon on Ellie's head, and they started moving with the carriage. Alan saw that the snow was heavy, but Graham told him they would stay in the houses for the coming days because of the cold strength. Alan saw that Ellie was feeling cold and gave her his own scarf and asked them that he would use magic to warm the carriage from inside. Graham agreed to this, and Alan used his magic for heating, which amazed and astonished Ellie, but Alan told her it's not a difficult spell once you get used to it. They arrived at Duke Howard's palace, and Graham opened the carriage door for them to get out, but Ellie couldn't get out, and Alan had to carry her, which caused her to feel very embarrassed. After he put her down, he apologized to her if he caused any trouble to Her Highness the Princess. Ellie was surprised that he knew she was the princess daughter of the Duke, and asked him immediately how he knew that. Alan knew this when he met her at the train station, that she wasn't suitable to be a maid because of her clothes that didn't fit her, and also through the white ribbon embroidered with gold, and that he had only seen a few of them. He expected that no one else would disguise themselves to meet him for the first time, which embarrassed Ellie, and she left immediately. Graham explained to Alan that she was the one who wanted to meet him herself for the first time, and apologized to him. They entered the palace, which was built to withstand the severe cold because it was very warm. Graham called for Ellie, the real maid, to welcome Alan. Ellie came running to welcome Alan and almost fell to the ground, but Alan saved her from falling. Graham was annoyed by her running in the house because he had asked her many times not to do that, but Alan didn't feel any annoyance from her, and that he was happy she wasn't hurt, and teased her, which caused Ellie to feel very embarrassed. Graham saw that Alan was exactly as the professor described him. Alan asked Graham what the professor said about him, so Graham told him that the professor told them he was naturally skilled at dealing with young girls, but Alan denied this description and that he only had some experience dealing with those younger than him, nothing more. Alan moved to meet Duke Howard in his office and thanked him for accepting him in this job and introduced himself to him. Howard greeted him and told him that he spoke with the professor and recommended him for this task, and that he looks forward to seeing his work. He came here to teach Tina, his daughter, so she could join the Royal Academy, which shocked Howard. Alan felt he had been given wrong information, but Howard asked him to make his daughter give up on thinking about joining the Royal Academy altogether. Alan asked Howard to make his daughter discouraged from applying, but Howard would tell Alan a bit about the Howard lineage. He told him they know about the 4 great ducal houses, and that they contributed greatly to founding the kingdom, and these houses were granted vast lands in the 4 directions, with each duke protecting his territory. He also told him that the Howards ruled the north on behalf of the crown for centuries, and they're proud of this. But this ended with him. He told him that Tina's mother died when Tina was young, and he only has his 2 daughters left. Stella the elder, who joined the Royal Academy, but he can't claim she's gifted in magic, and he doubts she'll ever master their family's magical inheritance. As for Tina, his younger daughter. She has no magical talent at all, and while she has mana, she can't use any magic spells. After examining her with a famous wizard, her condition wasn't explained at all, which made Alan wonder about such a sudden case. But Howard sees that Tina has a high sense of responsibility, and since she's from their house bloodline, their duty toward her is to make her study magic and combat arts at the Royal Academy, despite other paths being available to her. Alan wondered about these paths, but Howard thought it better for Alan to see for himself. They moved to the flower room, and Tina was the one who planted them after reading his late wife's books, and Tina began studying how they grow in this land. Howard saw this research as real wealth for the duchy, so he wants her to continue this research here. Here Alan understood what the professor had tricked him into, but he told Howard that Tina should choose her own path and master magic, then she can join the Royal Academy. But would he allow her to do that? Howard told him he would allow it then, and made a promise to Alan. Alan said to himself that this girl has mana but can't use magic, and he saw this as a puzzle worth solving. They moved to the dining room where Howard was celebrating Alan's arrival, and told him it's their custom for servants to eat with them at the same table too. Alan thought this was very good. Ellie and Tina came to them, and Howard asked them to join. They approached Alan, and Howard introduced them to each other. They got to know each other, and Alan told Tina he met Ellie in the carriage when the cold was harsh, which embarrassed Tina greatly, and left Ellie not understanding what he was talking about. Tina asked Alan to get to know many things, and she has several questions she wants to ask. Howard asked Alan for something else about Ellie, for her to be under his supervision, and told him she's Graham's granddaughter, and from the Walker family that has belonged to the Howard service since ancient times. Graham agreed to this. Alan wondered, so you want Ellie to join the Royal Academy too? But Ellie showed them she's not good at magic at all, and thought she'd be a burden on him. Alan asked Ellie what she wants to do, and she told him she wants to do what's asked of her. He asked her, do you want to join the Royal Academy? And Ellie answered, of course she wants that, and wants to be present with Tina everywhere, because she's her personal servant. Alan looked forward to teaching her. The black cat Anko appeared, and they told them it's the professor's pet who recommended him, which impressed them greatly. The next day, Alan moved to Tina's room and entered, greeting her. But Tina asked him not to call her Your Highness or My Lady, and to call her Tina. She also asked him not to lie to her even if what he'll tell her is hurtful because she can handle it. Alan agreed to this, and that he won't hold himself back. He asked her before they start studying to take a written test today, and told her the entrance exam consists of 3 parts: a written test, personal interview, and practical magic exam. They must focus on practical magic, but he wants to first know how prepared she is for the written test. Tina asked, do they prepare a new written test every year? And that she heard it's very difficult. But Alan denied this and told her there are patterns that repeat in the Academy's questions like any other test, and no one notices them because the Academy draws them from an archive spanning decades. He gave her a paper with a set of questions and asked her to do her best to solve them. Night fell and we moved to Alan's room where he began correcting Tina's test. He saw that this girl matches Lydia in intelligence, and Lydia was a heavy burden on him. She's the eldest daughter of Duke Leinster, Protector of the South. Although she's famous with the title Lady of the Sword, she's also academically excellent and graduated from the Royal Academy and University ahead of her class, has great magical power and mastered the Great Phoenix spell. At least academically, Tina matches her. The next day we moved to the teaching room where Alan returned the test to Tina after reviewing it, which made Tina happy because she passed it. Alan told her she's qualified for the written test, and to pass it too, possibly achieving the highest score. Tina thanked Alan greatly, but Alan wanted to reduce preparation time for the written test, and they must focus on practical magic starting today. He told her she won't know what she can do unless she tries. But Tina tried repeatedly and failed, telling him she had many teachers before him and disappointed them all. But Alan knows the feeling she's in now because it happened to him recently, which surprised Tina. She told him the professor said he's very good and that Lady Lydia became famous under his guidance too. But Alan told her people gossip about him because he's the only one who tolerated Lydia's whims, and his mana amount is much less than the previous year, and they accepted him at the university because they thought he was good at controlling Lydia. So he knows the Royal Academy is harsh and the lessons are difficult and tough, and half the students don't graduate on schedule. Before starting a lesson with her, he asked if she really wants to join the Royal Academy and not just because she feels it's her duty. But Tina wants to join the Academy not out of duty but because she loves plants. In her childhood, her mother used to read her a picture book, and she was always impressed by the great spells that legends used, and she wanted to master such spells very much. But Alan thought no one can use great spells now, but he'll try everything he can do, and if she has the will and continues progressing, he'll find the way. Tina thanked him for believing in her. Ellie came to them bringing a set of candles, and while approaching them she almost fell again, but Alan succeeded in saving her for the second time in a row, using his magic and preventing the candles from falling to the ground and successfully placing them on the table. Tina was annoyed by Alan and Ellie's closeness and asked him to move away from her immediately. The lesson began, and Alan asked Tina about the basic magic elements, and she told him they're fire, water, wind, and other things too, and every person is born with natural harmony with one of the 7 elements, and this is the reason for their strength or weakness. Alan asked about the Howard family's element, and Tina thought they harmonize with water and wind elements and can combine them to use ice magic. Alan asked Tina about the meaning of harmony and told her he cast a spell in the carriage to warm the carriage, and this spell combined 3 elements: water, wind, and fire. He told her that water and fire are opposing elements, and this contradicted harmony theory, and this theory is his own, but he doesn't believe in a natural element humans are born with. He asked her to use different elements with an open mind and asked her to cast spells on these candles using the 7 elements. He asked Ellie which elements she can cast spells with, and Ellie could use fire and wind a little. Alan asked Ellie to light the candles, and Ellie succeeded and lit the candle. Alan asked her again to use wind, and she succeeded too, which made Alan happy, and he expected a bright future for her, confident she'll be ready for the entrance exam and might succeed with honors, which amazed Ellie. He asked Tina to try now. Tina tried, and Alan felt the mana moving inside her, but she didn't succeed in lighting the candles and apologized to him. But he didn't want her to apologize, and he knows she has mana, but he must know why her spell isn't activating. He'll give them a demonstration because they'll do this themselves, so they must pay attention. He lit the candles with different colored flames, which amazed them. We moved to Lydia's house, where she's reading Alan's letter telling her he'll stay at Howard's house until spring, and asking her to wish him luck in proving his abilities without problems. Ellen continued teaching them magic and asked why people were able to use it. Tina answered that people have mana and mastered its use through research and effort. Ellen looked to the horizon and said that scientific research has progressed, and the number of magic users increased, but the number capable of casting advanced spells has decreased year after year. Now, noble ducal families are associated with their powerful spells, like the Firebird, Ice Wolf, and the Capital Dragon, but very few can actually perform these spells, and their power is steadily declining. Tina, who had lived through 2 centuries of research and reform since the Demon King's War, asked Ellen if he meant that all this effort had been wasted. Ellen clarified he didn't mean that, but the truth was they sacrificed quality for quantity. He believed humans' ability to use magic came from elemental spirits they can't see. But Tina said experiments have disproved this, pointing out that fire spells don't get stronger near volcanoes, where fire spirits supposedly dominate. Ellen wondered how they could trust these experiments if they couldn't measure the spirit's power, saying that was an unfair question, but admitting Tina was more knowledgeable. Despite this, Tina thought Ellen was too harsh. Ellen then told them that elements don't matter much to spirits, and most current magic formulas are designed to summon only one element. He asked them, if you were an elemental spirit, would you enjoy being asked to do the same thing over and over? Neither thought so. So Ellen was trying to improve his formula by adding pauses to it and asked them to try as well, surprising them. He asked Ellie, since she could use fire and wind magic, to try a different kind of magic. Ellie tried but failed and felt discouraged. Ellen denied her failure, told her to calm down and try again. On the second try, she finally succeeded and felt happy about the achievement, even though it was small. Then it was Tina's turn. She tried magic but failed on the first attempt, and when asked to try again, she failed again, which saddened her. At nightfall, Ellen went to the library and was amazed by the number of books there. He searched for a book that could help Tina. While he was searching, Tina arrived with her maid, who warned her not to stay in the place too long. Tina picked up a specific book from the shelf. Her maid spoke to her, saying she reminded her of her own mother, who loved reading, but Tina was different because she couldn't use magic. The maid then asked about Tina's new teacher, noting he seemed harsh, but then remembered how he had told Tina in the carriage that he was actually very kind. Ellen overheard their conversation. After Tina left for her room, the maid realized Ellen was there, which embarrassed him. She introduced herself as Shelley, the head housemaid, and said she wanted to ask him for something. Ellen asked what, and she said it was about Tina. Shelley told him that Tina was very smart and hardworking, but her previous teachers ignored her efforts and left, just because she lacked magical ability. She felt pain each time one left, crying quietly but never giving up on her dream to join the Royal Academy. She remembered being told Ellen would come to train her since he was the Sword Lady's own mind. Shelley also added that she knew Tina admired Ellen and Idia a lot. She asked for his help, and Ellen reassured her he was here for that. Moving to the next day, Tina felt angry thinking Ellen and Ellie had been on a walk together. Ellen explained he was picking vegetables with her. Ellie was scared of Tina's reaction and asked how she felt about Ellen and how Ellie could go out alone with him in the morning. But Ellie admitted she loved Ellen a lot, which made Tina happy, though surprised. Ellie explained that her love for Ellen came after loving her grandparents and after loving herself, which made Ellen laugh at them. Ellen thought they were like sisters, but believed Tina was the older sister. sister, which made her feel proud. However, Ellie was actually a year older, but Tina never admitted Ellie acted like the older sister. That upset Ellie, who told Tina she wouldn't let her sleep next to her again if there was a thunderstorm, causing Ellen to laugh again. Tina and Ellie told Ellen it wasn't funny. They continued magic training, with Ellen holding Ellie's hand and asking her to feel her inner mana. He asked if she felt anything, and Ellie felt intense warmth and mana flowing through her. Ellen told her she had experienced dark mana. He asked her to use magic next, but she failed. He said it was okay, and that failing the first time was normal. Then Ellen asked Tina to try, but she failed again. He encouraged her not to let it affect her and told her to try something different. Ellen used his magic and showed them a new cat, which amazed them. Ellie asked Ellen to touch the cat, and Tina wanted to as well, but Ellen told them not to fight. He showed another cat and gave each of them one, bringing happiness to all. At the end of the day, as Ellen was heading to his room, Graham handed him a private letter. He went to his room thinking it was from Lydia, who had replied quickly. When opening the letter, Lydia said she received his message and angrily asked why he went to Howard. She added that if he needed work, he should have come to her. She mentioned meeting Tina several times and knew her situation well, warning that he'd face great difficulties. She expected he might succeed if he tried, but thought it unlikely. Lydia warned him not to consider trying anything with anyone else, and said he was hiding something about the Royal Wizard test. She told him not to do it, but said she'd see him at the Royal Academy exam, and if he ran away, she'd chase him to the ends of the earth to tear him apart and burn what's left. She asked him to write to her every week. Then we moved to the classroom after Ellen finished reading the letter. Tina asked about what Lydia wanted from Ellen. Ellen said Lydia was upset because he hadn't written to her much. He thought Ellie noticed Lydia's strong interest in him, while Tina thought Lydia felt lonely because he was gone. But Ellen didn't believe the reason was as nice as they thought. They continued training, and Ellie succeeded in magic, but Tina failed again. Ellen was surprised when an ice plane flew upward. He went back to the library to look for a solution, telling himself that Tina's spells were close to triggering, and if he didn't find an answer in modern books, he'd search older ones. During his search, he noticed a very strange mark, then left the library to find Ellie waiting for him. She followed him to his room, offered him a drink, and Ellen thanked her, calling her Miss Ellie, which annoyed her and made her ask why he addressed her that way. She explained she preferred casual names and asked if that was only during training. She realized he was lying, and when he called her just Ellie again, she calmed down. She told him she wanted him to always call her that, but Ellen felt she shouldn't let a stranger into her room at night, though she saw no problem with it. Then she told him her grandparents had recently called her, telling her how much they loved her and hugging her tightly, which surprised her and made her ask why. They said they had talked about her. Ellen offered her a small piece of advice, recalling what he had discussed with Shelley about her strong ability and talent. But Ellen felt it was hard for him to take full advantage of that, so he wanted her to let her family know how much they meant to her, as having a loving family was the greatest support. Back in the present, Ellen told Ellie he had a family that supported him in many situations. Ellie said her father died when she was young, and she moved to live with the Howard family. She still remembered the day she arrived, imagining the white snow and a girl trying to catch up to her wherever she went. Recently, Tina lost her mother, which made her anxious. She and Ellie were cut from the same cloth. Tina was afraid because she was the heir of the Walker family, but none of her efforts succeeded. Before she realized it, Ellie had advanced far in the academy, and Tina feared not having a place there. She encouraged herself and asked Mr. Howard for permission to enter the Royal Academy. Ellen thought this was just courage on her part because she wanted to make her own path and was talented. He told her to be confident, which excited her. The next day, Ellie successfully used her magic powerfully, which saddened Tina. Ellen asked if Ellie used other elements, but Ellie was afraid of lightning and light magic. She said Inko helped her in the dark, and she hoped to master them soon. Then Ellen asked Tina to step up for a magic test, but she completely failed. She wondered why that happened to her, but Ellen reassured them they had time and would try a different spell formula. After that, Ellen went to Howard and told him that Tina had a huge mana reserve, but that didn't guarantee she was ready for the exam. Howard thought Tina should be discouraged from applying, but Ellen believed that was wrong and said he shouldn't push her away if she really wanted to join. He explained that even if she couldn't use magic, the academy would consider her academic brilliance. Howard knew that, but also knew the aristocratic society wouldn't make it easy, understanding well that a girl from the Howard family without magic would be a target for fools at the academy. He didn't want his daughter to suffer as he had had. Ellen said if things didn't change, he'd do what Howard asked. Ellen opposed this, but Howard begged him to comply. Back at the training room, Tina was trying to use her power but failed. Ellen came and offered to train with her. She asked if he minded, and he said not at all. He told her to keep trying, but she tried many times without success. Later, Ellen went to his room, trying to find a solution to Tina's problem, but found no flaw in her formula. He wondered why she wasn't responding. He drew many magic circles on paper and kept thinking about a solution. The next day, Ellen woke up thinking he was late and hadn't rested well due to staying up late. He went to the classroom where Tina was sleeping. When she woke up and saw him sitting in front of her, she apologized if she had woken him. She looked at the book he held and asked if he was reading it for her, but he denied that and said he was interested in it. Tina realized he was lying, knowing he stayed up late reading the book and missed breakfast because of that. She asked how many books he had read for her, how he practiced different spells with her every day, and helped her train at night too. Ellen told her not to worry about that since he loved reading and enjoyed tweaking formulas. He said that morning was an unusual nap for him, which made her feel he wasn't angry or blaming her. Even though she couldn't cast any spells, she expressed her feelings and asked for his forgiveness. Tina cried a lot because she couldn't take it anymore. She told him she loved and respected him and loved Ellie very much too. Whenever he praised Ellie and saw her progress, she noticed the negative feelings inside him. Suddenly, Tina unleashed a huge ice force that almost hurt Ellen. Luckily, Ellie arrived, but Ellen told her not to interfere inside the room. Elin asked Eli to go and bring Mr. Graham. He then tried to use a spell to stop the ice storm, but he failed and couldn't break through. He felt something choking him and believed he had no choice but to summon his resolve, even though he didn't want to do it again. He called out to Tina, asking her to respond if she could hear him. We moved to Tina, caught between the icy walls. She listened to Ellen's voice and wondered what was happening to her. Elin told her that her energy was raging now, and if it continued like this, she would exhaust herself and die. Tina asked what she should do. He told her he would bind his energy to hers, so he could control her power. He had done it successfully before, acknowledging it wasn't comfortable, but asked her to let him do it. Then Ellen used his power to connect their energies, risking his life for this because Tina trusted him. He began searching for her until he found her. The binding was very difficult for him, and he saw a massive amount of mana from her energy, uncovering her hidden abilities, which rivaled Lydia's and perhaps even surpassed them. Elin heard Tina's thoughts as she wondered why she couldn't use magic, calling herself a useless cursed child. Tina's thoughts flooded into Elin's mind, so he called out to her. Suddenly, an ice dragon appeared behind Tina, and he discovered she was trying to help him through the storm. The timing was right for Ellen to use his power, and he unleashed a firebird until he succeeded in melting the ice and revealing Tina. Ellen approached Tina and hugged her, feeling relief that she was okay. He looked up and saw the dragon disappearing, but before it vanished, it told him he had met one last key. Confused, Ellen asked Tina if she had heard or seen anything in the storm. She hadn't heard anything, but mentioned that her feelings were strange due to the connection between them. Ellen forgot they were still connected and attempted to sever the bond. He almost went to fetch Eli because she was worried about them, but Tina asked him to wait with her and keep holding her, reminding him that he was her teacher. Elin complied. Later, Eli arrived with Graham to check on Tina and Elin. Eli felt happy for Tina and Elin, remembered Lydia's speech to him about not trying this with anyone else. He told himself he needed to think of a good excuse for her and almost lost consciousness, nearly collapsing, but Graham supported him. Next, we moved to Ellen's room where Tina and Ellen were worried about him. Eli went to fetch him some tea, and Tina asked if what happened to him was due to their bond. Elin reassured her not to worry, but noted it was surprising because when he bonded with someone, he couldn't help but share his thoughts and feelings. Tina then told him she heard him call her the princess's poison and got very angry, demanding an explanation immediately. She had asked him not to call her that anymore. Elin tried to clarify that he had seen certain aspects regarding this ability and that he could control the mana of the person he was bound to, and his will influenced the amount of mana they could use. After creating a bond with someone, reconnecting with them later became easy. Tina asked Ellen if he had done something like this before. Of course, Ellen had connected his mana with his sister Karen's. Tina then asked if he had done this with Lydia, and he confirmed he had because he had no other choice at the time. Binding magical energy meant holding another's life in your hands, which could be dangerous as it allowed him to use someone else's power as he pleased, and he cautioned her to keep it a secret between them. Surprised that he revealed a secret to her, Elin asked her not to tell anyone, not even Eli. Then night fell, and Ellen began to explore what was within Tina, questioning their connection. Feeling he needed to investigate it thoroughly, they moved to a new place to practice magic. Elin was very impressed with the location and asked Tina to try her magic here. Tina stepped forward to light the candles, but unleashed a massive force from her body after successfully displaying her power, which amazed everyone. Elin wondered if what was inside Tina affected the results. He recalled the dragon and noted that it no longer obstructed her spell. spells. It was possible that their magic connection allowed some of his control over magic to leak into her. Elin encouraged Tina, saying they would now begin working on controlling the spells. Tina hugged Elin, crying because she could finally use magic. Elin assured her efforts weren't in vain and told her she was an amazing girl. Eli felt happy for Tina too, and cried a lot for her. Tina thanked her for it. Elin sensed that with a little practice, Tina would be able to control her magic much more freely. Once she reached this level, both would be ready for the Royal Academy, and he decided to tell Walter about this. However, Graham informed him that Walter was away on a mission and wouldn't return soon. Elin thought Walter would be delighted to hear this news once informed, missing the chance to tell him. Elin then moved to his room and wrote a letter to the professor. We transitioned to the professor, who received the letter while in his office. One of Ellen's friends came to inquire about him, and the professor mentioned he had just received a letter from Ellen, describing him as the sixth scholar, drowning in debt due to gambling, which made Ellen's friend laugh because this was expected of Ellen. However, the professor thought it was the fifth time and noted he should correct that. Ellen's friend came closer to read the letter with him and informed him that Tina had succeeded in using her magic and casting spells. The professor requested the immediate shipment of magical scrolls for resistance barriers against ice of military quality to prevent his beloved student from turning into an ice statue before he saw her again. Ellen's friend believed he was having fun with this, but the professor thought that transferring military supplies wasn't that easy. However, who would have expected that he would succeed in showcasing the little princess's power? Later, we returned to Ellen's room where he continued studying books but hadn't found a lead until he opened the next book and saw the same mark he had seen before. He began contemplating this mark as well. Moving to the training room, Elin asked Eli to ignite the candles using dark power. Eli attempted this but failed. Elin didn't lose faith in her and asked her to visualize darkness fully in her mind to succeed. He told her to recall how she felt when she touched Anko. Then she looked at Anko and unleashed her magic, successfully lighting the candles, which encouraged her from Ellen. He asked Tina to do the same. Tina approached, receiving encouragement from Eli. Then Tina tried but successfully demonstrated her magical power in a massive way. Elin urged her to use her mind to control it and constrain it too. He suggested that since Eli was making steady progress, they would move on to combat training, leading to Tina feeling jealous once more about Elin's treatment of Eli. However, Eli thought Elin was very kind. Tina requested Ellen to be kinder to her too, but Ellen saw no room for leniency in magic training. Tina felt this was unfair and objected strongly, but Ellen advised her there was no need for a girl who wrecked the ceiling every time she used magic to need softness. Tina countered that she needed him because she didn't get enough of it and deemed this a failure of her teacher's duty. Ellen thought to himself that she now resembled someone he knew and recalled he hadn't received a message from her since the last time. Curious about what she might be doing now, he remembered Lydia. Tina then asked Ellen if he was distracted just now. Eli asked Ellen what he was thinking about. Tina insisted that he share now, and they held on to him. Elin remembered Graham's words about having a natural talent for dealing with young women, but he immediately denied it. Eli then began using offensive magic, launching strikes toward Graham, but he dodged all her hits. Ellen was astonished, noting that there weren't any unnecessary moves, but Tina explained to him that the Walker family trained every day to improve their service at home. Then Graham began launching strikes at Eli, but she skillfully blocked them, making Elin very happy and encouraging her to continue. He told Tina it was her turn now. Tina approached to light the candles again, and almost succeeded in controlling her power, but the movement was extremely challenging for her. We transitioned to Graham's room, where he expressed his amazement at Tina's progress, especially with her, and he felt very grateful for this. Ellen thought that the credit belonged to them for their efforts. He asked Graham if he would meet Walter soon, but Graham informed him that Walter had many obligations. Ellen felt that with this communication breakdown, he suspected Walter was avoiding him. He asked Graham how Walter would feel when he learned Tina was learning magic. Graham informed Ellen with as much as he could say. Then Elin Graham asked another question about the books in the archive. He found several books that bear the same mark on the last page and asked if he knew to whom they belonged, but Graham did not know. Then we moved to Ellen's room, and he began reading the books that bore the mark, thinking that the secret of Tina's magic might lie within them. He remembered the dragon again and wondered what it meant by the key. Did it refer to Tina? It couldn't be meant for him, as he was just an ordinary person. Then Tina and Eli came to them, and Tina told Ellen that Eli couldn't sleep. But Eli revealed Tina's lie because she had gone to her room and told her she was scared of the book she was reading, which is why she couldn't sleep. However, Elin asked them to go to their rooms and to sleep so it wouldn't affect their training, but they didn't want to do that and stayed in his room. Elin offered them hot drinks, which made them like him a lot, and he asked them not to make any noise so he could continue his research. Then, Elin discovered that all the books with the same mark shared something in common. He looked behind him him and saw Tina and Eli had gone to sleep, which excited him more to help them join the Royal Academy together. Then we moved to the training hall where Graham informed Ellen that Walter wanted to meet him, and Ellen immediately agreed, asking Tina and Eli to take a break. We then moved to Walter's office, where Walter told Ellen that he decided Tina would not take the admission test. However, Ellen insisted to Walter that Tina would excel in the admission test. Walter tried to tell Ellen that he wanted no part in it anymore, and that he didn't want Tina to be a burden on anyone in the academy, which angered Elin upon hearing this. He told him that he hadn't seen anything yet, and that it no longer mattered solely to him since Tina's mother, Princess Rosa, had her own wishes too. Walter then asked Ellen how a stranger like him could know what his wife wanted, but with a single glance at their archive, Ellen knew, as the books that dealt with ice magic bore the same owner's mark, which was Princess Rosa. She must have hoped to help Tina develop her magical talent, believing that if she couldn't do so herself, someone else would on her behalf. He showed him the book as evidence, and the mark was clear proof of this, which shocked Walter. After that, he asked Walter to reconsider his decision. As for his rudeness, he was ready to accept punishment, but Walter told him to lift his head as he was too nice. Still, Elin did not want to make Tina give up her dream. Then Walter agreed, but with one condition. Ellen then moved to the training hall and told them that if they passed the final test, Walter would allow them to apply for the Royal Academy test. Tina asked what would happen in the final test. Elin explained that Walter wanted to test their abilities himself, but he was busy, so he would assign a skilled wizard to fight them on his behalf, which frightened them. However, Elin reassured them not to worry, as he was completely confident they would succeed because he was proud of them as his students, which made them feel very embarrassed, and they were very grateful to him. They started training for close combat in the training hall, and Ilya directed several strikes at Elin, but he successfully dodged them. Then, the two of them worked together, and Ilya cast a spell at Elin, but he evaded it. However, he couldn't dodge Tina's attack, and Tina managed to grab him, believing she would win today. But Ilya got annoyed that she was thinking about victory for herself, and that they would succeed together. While they were preoccupied, they forgot about their opponent, and Ellen managed to free himself, telling them not to lose focus on their opponent no matter what happened. Then Tina and Ilya teamed up to cast spells at Elin, and at the same time, Elin was ready for them, leading to a clash of their spells that filled the room with thick smoke, making it impossible for them to see. Then Ellen used his power to show them two water orbs, which cleared the smoke, and he told them that they had lost. He then complimented Tina on the trap she set for him and told Ilya she had become more skilled than before, but they still had a lot to learn. He also informed them that they would face a sorcerer chosen by Duke Walter himself in their final test, who might use advanced spells against them, and they needed to confront him with all their strength. He asked Tina to keep working on controlling her power since there wasn't much time left before the exam, and reassured them he would be with them to teach them everything they needed, but that day was enough for training. Then Ilya and Tina went to wash up, and Tina enjoyed her shower right after the training. She asked Ilya if they could win in the final exam since their test was approaching, but Ilya had no knowledge about it. However, Tina expected Ilya to do well because of Graham and Shelley's training, but Ilya clarified that any maid from Howard would have been a challenge for her, and she felt she would be amazing too. But Tina thought Elin was incredible, and she couldn't let him down, and Ilya shouldn't either. Then they hugged each other, and Tina promised Ilya that they would go to the academy together. However, Ilya passed out, which made Tina worry about her. Then they moved to Ellen's room, and he examined Ilya, discovering that she had spent too long in the bathroom and got dizzy. Elin then cast a spell on Tina as well because it was used to dry hair, which he had used a lot before, but they both asked at the same time, "Who did you use it for?" Elin told them he used it for his sister, Karen, and informed them that she would be their classmate at the academy and was studying there at a higher rank. Then they returned to the training hall, and he asked them to start attacking him again. Ilya cast a strong spell on him, but he blocked it. On the other side, he dodged a frost arrow from Tina, but Tina didn't stop. She displayed magical circles and fired a large number of arrows at him, but he dodged some and blocked the rest. While he was busy with Tina's attacks, Ilya came from above to strike him, but he dodged that too. Then she tried to bind him, but he took an arrow from Tina, and she succeeded in hitting him. Elin praised them, which made them happy. They then approached him, asking him to let them continue training. However, Elin wanted to wrap up training because their final test was the next day, and they needed to save some energy for it. Then night fell, and Elin went back to the library, continuing his book book search. He told himself that another book wouldn't get him any closer to uncovering what he saw then, recalling what he had seen before. Then Tina appeared behind him and asked what brought her to the library at this late hour. She couldn't sleep, so she decided to visit her plants to lift her spirits. She saw the lights illuminated and asked him if not succeeding tomorrow meant she couldn't go to the Royal Academy. But Ellen was confident things wouldn't come to that, and she and Ilya would succeed. Then Tina asked Ellen to listen to her for a bit, and when he agreed, she told him that when she was younger, she wished her mother would read her the illustrated book and talk to her. That was the reason behind her love for legends and their great spells. She had seen images in that book of a small bird, a flaming lion, and an ice bird that froze everything, which was an extinct bird resembling a crane. At that time, she thought the great spells were real. That's why she wanted to go to the royal capital. This was the story her mother left for her, and she wanted to prove it was true. She told him he was the first person she shared this with, and Elin thanked her for trusting him. Then he picked up a book and asked if she wanted to take a look at it. Tina took the book and began to examine it closely. Ellen told her that every book bore the royal seal on the last page. He didn't personally know Tina's mother, but by looking at the notes she left, he realized how important she was to the children who lived afterward. He also told her that the formulas he taught her were taken from those notes with some modifications. Then he closed the book, and she hugged Ellen, promising him that she would win tomorrow and go to the Royal Academy. The next day, Tina and Ilya met, feeling anxious, but Elin appeared and told them not to worry, assuring them that they would definitely win. Then they entered and found Shelley waiting for them. She asked Ellen to go to the platform since he wasn't allowed in. Ellen was aware of this, and then Shelley handed Tina something wrapped. When Tina opened it, she found a wand, and Shelley told her it belonged to her mother, Rosa, and that she had left it in her care, asking her to pass it to Tina when she learned magic. This amazed Tina, but increased her confidence, as there was now nothing to fear, which made Shelley happy that she handed over the wand and fulfilled her duty to Rosa. Then Ilya approached Shelley, and she asked her to give it her all and believe in herself. Then Tina urged Ilya to go, informing Ellen that they would use everything he taught them, wishing them success. Then they moved to the arena, where Graham informed them that this man would be their opponent, and the opponent was Walter, but he was hidden. Elin discovered that this mask served as a spell to obscure perception, and the opponent told the girls that if they wanted to enter the Royal Academy, they had to defeat him, urging them to face him with all their energy. Then they created a barrier, and Graham instructed them to start. Walter attacked, but Ilya struck him back, pushing him away, but he attacked again and managed to grab her, throwing her away. However, while Ilya was airborne, she succeeded in casting a spell, freezing Walter in place, which made Shelley proud of her. After that, Tina surrounded Walter with a group of magical circles and shot ice arrows at him, but he wasn't affected. Then Tina used her magic wand to bind Walter, but he promptly broke free. Then Walter attacked Tina, but Ilya pushed her out of the way from that lethal blow. Just as he was about to attack them again, Ilya managed to freeze him, and Tina launched an ice arrow at him, but he blocked it. However, they managed to trap him in a swirl of black fog. They took advantage of Walter being unable to see, and they launched a double strike against him, but Walter wasn't hit by anything. Walter told them he was proud of their skills and formed a very large spell. Elin observed that it was an advanced spell from the double ice pillars, which made Ilya very tense, and she couldn't use her magic. But Tina told her to calm down and reminded her that they would do as Ellen taught them. Encouraged by Ellen, both of them used their magic, ready to face Walter's strike. Walter directed an attack at them, but Tina deflected it with fireballs, and Tina also shot ice arrows, successfully repelling him. Elin was amazed by how Tina blocked that strike and used a spell that he hadn't taught her, and Shelley felt proud of Tina as well. Tina saw that they were now ready for the academy tests, and asked him to admit defeat, but Walter didn't think they would reach this stage. Ilya requested Walter to surrender because it was futile to try against them. However, Walter didn't stop attacking and used a very strong spell, and Ellen feared the barrier wouldn't withstand it, telling everyone to get back to avoid harm. He also asked Shelley to do the same, and then Elin descended to the battlefield, asking Graham to take over as a judge on his behalf. Graham predicted this would be extremely dangerous. Elin was aware of it but was accustomed to it, whether it was good or bad. Then Walter scolded the girls and asked them, "Didn't your teacher teach you to attack when the opportunity arises?" Tina was surprised, thinking only her father could use such a spell. Ilya questioned how they were supposed to confront this, but she wouldn't give up and would find a way, as they were Elin's students. Tina thought the same and declared they would win and go to the academy together. Then Walter summoned the snowstorm wolf, and Ellen thought this was the ultimate spell from House Howard. He handed Graham reverse barriers, asking them to set up a second barrier outside in case of any emergency. Then Ellen approached the girls, but they refused to let him come closer, so as not to get hurt. Then Eileen remembered what he had said said when he wanted her to use 2 types of magic at the same time, and she did that, which caused the wolf to feel pain, but it didn't affect him. Then Tina recalled Ellen's encouragement and succeeded in freezing the wolf, but Walter didn't stop either. He broke the wolf's chains and told them that if they wanted to resist, they needed to cast a spell on him. Then the wolf roared at them, causing them to fall to the ground, but they weren't completely affected. Elin asked Tina to use the Storm Wolf spell, and even though she hadn't trained for it, he told her to try. Tina thought it was impossible, but Ellen assured her she could, and he asked Eileen to support her. Then Eileen held the wand with Tina, and they displayed the magic circle. Walter attacked them with the wolf, and they also managed to summon their own wolf. The wolves clashed with each other, and Walter was surprised, but knew they were beginners at this. He attacked again, but there was a barrier preventing his wolf from attacking. The wolves roared at each other, and Walter asked them if that was all they had. But Tina told him they could keep going, and they continued to attack. Tina undid a strip of her hair and tied it to the wand, because that's what her mother had told her when she was taking things seriously. Then she asked her mother to grant her strength, and told Eileen to put all her effort into it. Then her mother's power manifested, delivering another strong blow that eliminated Walter's wolf and shattered his mask, revealing a great force of ice that penetrated the battlefield and reached the sky, shocking everyone. Then they moved to the train station to go to the royal capital, and Graham asked Eileen to listen to Ellen. Then he went to Walter and asked about his wounds. He was fine now. Tina apologized to her father, but he was very impressed with her effort and almost thought she was Rosa. He told her he was sorry for everything, and that he had been afraid for her because he couldn't bear the thought of losing her. Then Tina hugged him, but he felt pain from his wounds. She told him that she would be going and asked him to take care of the plants in her absence, and Walter agreed to this. Then Eileen told Tina that the train was about to depart, and she hopped on with her right away. Eileen asked Tina if she forgot anything, but Tina was well prepared. Walter saw that it was a father's duty to send his daughter into a wide world, and his wife had also wanted that for her. Then he approached Ellen and told him he trusted him, but Walter and Graham promised they wouldn't let anyone touch their daughters. After Ellen boarded, he told them that he would be waiting for them in the royal capital, and then the train started to move. Alan went to Lydia's house and received a blow from behind, but he blocked it and said that attacking from behind was a bad trait. Then Lydia appeared to him with very angry features and said to Alan, "Thanks for the advice," and asked him who he thought he was to make her wait all this time. But Alan told her that he wasn't late, but they also hadn't met for a long time, but Alan should have been in his seat before Lydia reached him. Then her magic never worked on him, and Alan could dispel it without any effort. Lydia threatened him that if he spoke any more hot air, she would cut him off. Then Lydia sat down and Alan apologized to her, but Lydia asked Alan what mistake he was apologizing for. Then Alan told her he was apologizing for accepting the teaching job without consulting her, and also for not coming to meet her since his return to the royal capital until today, and also for not telling her the reason for his failure in the royal wizard test. After he apologized for all his mistakes, Lydia asked him to hug her. Then Alan moved forward to embrace her, and she asked him not to leave without telling her again. Alan told her he would do what he could, which led to Lydia hugging Alan tightly, causing him to feel pain, and she wanted to hear from him that he wouldn't do this again, and asked for her forgiveness. Alan asked Lydia, "Have I become your servant?" but apologized to her again. Then Lydia's maid came to serve them tea, and welcomed Alan back again. The maid put the tea on the table, and whispered to Alan that Lydia had exhausted herself choosing this dress today, but Lydia told her she heard everything. Then the maid left, and Lydia asked Alan to sit with her. Then Alan showed a small gift to Lydia as a small memento, and gave it to her, also telling her that the dress suited her very much, and that she was very beautiful, which made Lydia feel embarrassed. Then Alan told Lydia that he wrote in one of his letters and congratulated her for passing the royal wizard exam, and that she would also graduate from university. Lydia thought Alan would attend her graduation ceremony, right? Alan told her that the professor asked him to attend, but he felt somewhat nervous about this. Alan asked Lydia if anyone had ever graduated second without a ready job. Lydia was surprised and asked Alan if he intended to continue teaching, but Alan didn't think about this and that he wasn't worthy of it. Then he drank the tea, and Lydia asked Alan for his opinion. She told him that Tina had become able to use magic, but Alan told her that many things had happened. But Lydia thought there was something Alan hadn't told her about. But Alan didn't mean to hide anything, but there were many matters concerning Tina's special mana, and he wanted to study it more. Then Lydia asked about the entrance exam and asked him if she was confident about it. But Alan thought they had started the written test now, and that Tina would get first place this year, and Ellie would also get an advanced position. But Lydia's little sister was also there, and first place might be difficult for Tina. But Alan saw that Lydia's sister Lynn was an outstanding student, but she would face fierce competition because Tina cast cast a very advanced spell almost immediately after learning magic, and he only knew one person who matched her, and she was also a genius. Lydia told him that the results would appear after a week and asked him to visit her every day from now on. She told him this was an order for him, and Alan quickly agreed to this, which led to Lydia's gratitude. Then we moved to Walter's house where he was reading a letter, but he didn't expect Tina to get first place with a score that almost reached the highest score in history, and Ellie also passed with honors. Walter told Alan that he never stopped amazing him, but Alan explained to Walter that both were excellent students and asked Walter to praise them. Then Walter praised the two girls and told Tina she was now their family's pride. Then he told Alan he was very grateful to him and asked if he would like to be a private tutor, which surprised the girls. But Alan appreciated this very much, but would refuse. Ellie asked Alan why he would refuse, but Walter thought he refused because of his concern about the royal capital. But Walter didn't blame Alan for the incident that occurred in the royal wizard exam. Alan asked Walter, "Did you know about the matter?" But Walter was a duke first and foremost, and serious problems reached his ears. Then Tina asked Alan if he had taken the royal wizard exam. Alan answered yes, but Walter heard that Alan succeeded in the written test and interview, but in the practical test, this was the reason for your failure, which angered the girls, and they couldn't believe Alan did this, and that he never failed any test at all. Tina got very angry, which caused her special mana to appear. Then Walter revealed to them that the examiner who faced Alan in the practical test was Prince Gerard II, and heard that he provoked Alan before the exam, including an insult directed at his family and Lydia. But Alan asked Walter to stop, but Tina and Ellie insisted on knowing. Walter continued talking and told them that in the exam Alan broke all the prince's spells, then defeated him in a sword duel too, but the prince didn't show him respect, and the examiners couldn't ignore the prince, so they finally chose not to evaluate Alan's performance. But Alan told them he wasn't sorry. Walter asked Alan, "Even after you wasted the royal wizard opportunity?" And he must have dreamed of this since joining the academy. Then Alan confessed to them that he was an orphan and didn't know who his real parents were, and that the parents and sister he had now were from the Wolf clan and not of his blood. Nevertheless, they raised him with tenderness and gave him their love, and Lydia also thought of him sometimes, and he wasn't mature enough to ignore their insults with a smile. But he didn't want to drag those he owed so much into this issue. But Walter didn't agree with him on this, but he always wanted to remember that the Howard family was his ally and would definitely help him. Alan thanked Walter very much. Then Tina told him she also didn't accept this and that she wouldn't part from Alan, and left. After that, Alan went to look for Tina and saw her standing alone. Then Alan approached Tina, and Tina asked Alan if he would really resign. Alan thought they would be fine without him now, but Tina cried and told him this wouldn't work. But Alan told her he would resign now, but would remain their teacher and would come to them if they needed him. Then the professor came to them and told Alan he had a lot of work ahead of him. But Alan got angry and asked him why he seemed so happy. But the professor was happy because one of his dear students would be exempted from the trip back home, and gave him advice to stay in this place and continue as Tina's teacher. He told him to agree and that he would keep the matter secret. But Alan asked the professor in surprise, "Is this a threat?" But the professor, as his academic advisor, couldn't bear to see his talent go to waste. But Alan told the professor this was impossible and asked who arranged all this. Then the professor approached Alan and told him he didn't do this, but Walter arranged everything and would talk with you. The professor asked Walter to include Tina with him in this meeting, then presented him with a re-employment contract and asked for his signature, which shocked Alan. Then we moved to Tina's room where Ellie was with her. Ellie asked Tina if something was wrong because she was acting strangely and staring a lot into space. But Tina denied it and told her she was fine, but a little busy with the enrollment ceremony letter. Then Stella, Tina's older sister, came, which made Tina feel happy about Stella's return and hugged her. Tina missed Stella very much because she didn't return during winter break, but Stella was very busy with the student council. Ellie asked Stella if she held the position of student council president and saw that this was something to be proud of. Tina asked Stella if she had met their father, but Stella hadn't gone to her father yet. Then she congratulated them on their success and told Tina she was amazed she got first place even though she had just learned magic. But Tina told her the reason was teacher Alan. Stella saw that she mentioned him a lot in her letters to her and said he was quite a bully and that she would like to meet him to express her gratitude. Then Tina told her he would be at the enrollment ceremony so Stella would see him there. Tina asked Stella if she had some time today or would return to the dormitory, but Stella would stay with them until the end of the evening so they could talk a lot. The next day, Tina and Ellie went to their school and were very happy. Then Alan came to them and greeted them, and the two girls also greeted Alan. Sherry saw that Alan had dressed appropriately for the party, but Alan did this because of Lydia's threat to burn him. Then Alan told the girls he lived in the workers' district, and it took great courage to go out looking like this. Ellie admired the buttons very much. Ellie asked Tina what was wrong with her, but Tina told her nothing. Then Alan congratulated the girls on the new school and told them the uniform suited them and adjusted Ellie's diagonal ribbon. Ellie thanked Alan and told him she heard he would remain their teacher and was very happy to hear this. But Alan is also happy about this and wishes to have many lessons with them. Ellie asked Alan, "What made you change your mind?" But Alan told her they were different reasons. Then Sherry told the girls that it was time for school. But Tina felt worried, but Alan reassured her and told her he would be with her, watching her give her speech. After that, they entered the school, and Ellie said goodbye to Alan and her grandmother. Then Lynn came to Alan and greeted him and told him that the uniform suited him very well. And Alan thanked Lynn a lot and asked her not to call him that way, as it causes misunderstanding. Then Duchess Lisa came, but Lisa didn't like Alan calling her Duchess. Then Alan called her Madam until Lisa told him that was good, and she told him he was like her son and asked him to stop being so formal. Then Alan thanked Lisa and told her that this also causes misunderstanding, but Lisa asked him what he meant, but Alan immediately retracted his words. Then Lisa told Alan that Lydia left this morning to appoint a witch to the palace. She was grumbling with displeasure and complaining because she wanted to attend the admission ceremony, and Alan thought Lydia wanted to see Lynn's impressive appearance, but the maid told him that this wasn't the only reason, and she told him she would document the day's events in a photographic orb for Lydia to watch whenever she wants. Then, we move inside the party. Tina felt extremely anxious, and Ellie tried to reassure her. Then, it started to rain, but Lynn thought rain was better than snow, and that she couldn't stand the cold. Then, Ellie asked Lynn, "Aren't you Duke Leinster's daughter?" But Tina knew she was Lynn, Lydia's younger sister, and also told her she hated the heat, which made Lynn angry. Then, Lynn told Tina that she had snatched the first place rank from her, and saw no reason for them to compete. She told her she could give the speech in her place if it made her nervous. But Tina told her she had a miracle given to her by Teacher Alan, and would not give it up no matter what. Then, we switched to Alan and Lisa. Lisa told Alan the ceremony was about to begin. One of the students came forward to give her speech, and Alan was surprised that it was Karen. Lisa told Alan that Karen was on the student council. Then, Karen started speaking and told them the ceremony would now begin, and that she would be the master of ceremonies. She introduced herself as Karen, vice president of the student council, and that she was from the Wolf clan and looked forward to working with them. But everyone started to wonder why people from the Beast clans were at the Royal Academy, which angered Alan. Then, the maid told Alan he looked very scary, but he didn't mean to. The maid told him that the Leinsters would take care of them and asked him not to worry. Then, Karen asked everyone to look at the sky, and a man appeared, hovering in the sky. Karen told them this was the one who put up a barrier against the rain, their headmaster, Lord Rod, and that he would address them shortly. She told them that they would now listen to a speech from the representative of the new students, Tina. Then, Tina came forward to give her speech. Alan saw that she was very nervous, and Tina almost fell to the ground, but Karen supported her. Karen asked her to do her best. Then, Tina began to speak and introduced herself, saying she felt extremely nervous when they told her she would give a speech. She told them she was born in the house of Duke Howard, and that she couldn't cast a single spell until she turned 13. She thought she had no right to dream, but she had no choice but to live her life without great hopes. But now she was at the academy, the one who could only use magic just 3 months ago, and she wondered if she was dreaming or not. She learned magic thanks to someone she met, and was so grateful to him she couldn't thank him enough. Her dream had always been to use magic, but that no longer satisfied her. She wanted to learn more and more spells so she could repay this person's kindness, and so that one day she could pass on the miracles she had received to someone else. She was chasing this new dream now, and perhaps she couldn't imagine how rough and difficult the road ahead would be, but she couldn't give up because she now knew that dreams do come true. This led to the other students being astonished by Tina creating ice in the air. She asked her classmates to work hard together. Then, she looked at Alan and told him she would catch up to him one day and asked him to be ready. She gave her thanks and left. Alan and Lisa clapped for her, and Lisa felt that Lydia would be jealous of this. Then, Karen spoke and told everyone that the next speech was for Stella Howard. Then, Stella Howard came forward, introduced herself, and congratulated the new students on their success in getting into the academy. Alan discovered that this was Tina's older sister. Then, Stella continued to speak, telling them that this academy had the highest standards in the kingdom, and since they were accepted here, they should feel proud. She told them that this academy was very strict in its rules, and that the reality of the academy was harsh, harsh. The intensive training might shatter the hopes and dreams of many, but it would also make their growth very fast and amazing. When she came to the academy, she was closer to the bottom of the class than the top, even though she was the eldest daughter of Duke Howard. But now, she stood before them as the student council president. She assured them that if they kept moving forward, they would find their way, and she asked them never to give up. She looked forward to meeting them at the academy with great passion. Lisa saw that Stella was a good example of the eldest daughter of Duke Howard, and that Lydia needed some of her seriousness, but the maid thought Lydia was very serious. Then, Karen said it was now time for the headmaster's speech, but Alan knew the headmaster gave a big speech and told Lisa she might receive a sleep spell. Then, a maid came to the maid, Annan, and whispered to her. Then, Annan said to Lisa that Lydia was in big trouble. Then, we switched to Lydia. She was in a major confrontation with a group of soldiers. Lydia told the soldiers that she chose how people die, but she did not give them that choice. She promised them she would cut them up and burn them.